everybody, welcome to our Family Nutrition Workshop. My name is Jessica Serrano and I'm the co-founder of Ignite Academy.
And I'm Dr. Raul Serrano, owner of Ignite Chiropractic and Wellness and co-founder of Re Nutritional Products.
And today we are so excited just to come to you as parents. Most importantly, we're parents to 4 little kiddos and we've walked this nutrition journey and continue to do so. So today we're excited just to talk a little bit about family nutrition. As the new year comes around, we all know that some of the top goals for people entering that new year is to get in the gym and start something different when it comes to their nutrition and diet. We're here to talk about, not us as adults, but really what can we do for our entire family. There are some guiding principles that we're going to share today that work for mom, dad, and those kiddos to make sure we are healthy families in this together. So where does all of this passion and inspiration come from? What is our personal health journey when it comes to aligning our health and aligning our nutrition? Well, I guess it's about, I don't know how many years ago, but 6.5 or 7 years ago, we adopted our oldest little girl, Adriana. She's now 13. We got her when she was about 6 or 7 years old. And when she first came to us, there was a lot of struggles when it came to her health. She was expressing a lot of symptoms, including everything from asthma and eczema and just a lot of things going on. And one of the first things that we did is we started to make small steps towards better nutrition. Most of her nutrition was coming from the school cafeteria, as well as some of our favorite fast food joints like McDonald's, etc. And we definitely needed to make some shifts to start helping her in her health journey. Is this easy? No, it's not always easy. Does it take time? Yes, our bodies take time to heal, but it is amazing what can happen when we start with the proper nutrition.
Yeah, and in that story, you know, we didn't always do things right. Like there was a lot of missteps that we took, and from that, that's how we put a lot of this together. Is we took the things that, hey, what didn't work? What were the things that we probably shouldn't have done? And we put this topic together to really help other parents that want to make that shift for their kids.
And no matter if you're joining us today and you've started this nutrition journey already and you've made some of those changes, we're here to just encourage you and maybe give you some extra tips. If you're coming at this and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, please help me. This is the first time we're even talking about nutrition. We're here to help you as well. So let's go ahead and get started.
Perfect. Oh, yes, on you. There we go. All right, so the first concept that we want to talk about here, really, it's just the concept of health. You know, I think when it comes to nutrition, a lot of times we look at nutrition as a bipolar thing, right? Either you're doing really good or you're just not doing it at all. And it's not like that. You know, just like health isn't something that you either have or you don't have. It's almost like a I don't know what they call that, but like a line that goes back and forth.
Like a progression or
spectrum. Like a spectrum, yeah. It's like a spectrum. It's not that you're either healthy or not. You're on some kind of a spectrum. You're either doing things that are building health in your body or doing things that sometimes we take missteps and we get off track a little bit and we're not doing so well for our bodies. Same thing nutritionally. We want to change that mindset of like, hey, we're either doing this nutrition thing or we're not. No, all of us are doing the nutrition thing. All of us are doing the diet thing. I just encourage people, especially families, through this workshop and in general, just to say, hey, look, think of it as a spectrum, and every little step that you take, we want to take little steps in the right direction. Right. And when you take that mindset, you're going to look back 2, 3 months, 6 months, a year or two from now, and you're going to look at, hey, I've made a ton of changes for my family, and things look drastically different today than they did 2 years ago.
Yeah, we want this journey to be something that you enjoy as a family. It shouldn't be a struggle. We're going to offer you some resources at the end of this that are actually called Ending the Food Fight, because so often it feels like a battle. It feels like a war in your household to get everybody on the same page. What we're here to say is let's make this easy and doable for our modern day families.
Perfect. So the first concept, that's on yours. The first concept that we want to introduce is lateral shifts. What is a lateral shift? A lateral shift, it's something that you're already doing, and we're just shifting laterally to something that's healthier. You know, we're not talking about vertical shifts. Vertical shifts are, let's say you're eating ice cream, and I'm going to say, hey, don't eat ice cream, eat broccoli. That's a big jump, right, for anybody. That's a vertical shift. Lateral shift is just like you see on the screen. We know that Lay's potato chips, for example, they're full of bad oils or damaged oils. They're full of preservatives. They're non-organic. They're genetically modified. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So if your kids or yourself, you like chips, well, hey, we're not going to tell you not to eat chips. We're going to say, hey, lateral shift to something healthier. The example we have on the screen there is Jackson's Honest. Those are organic. They have good, healthy oils in it. There's no preservatives in there. They're not using any chemicals in there. So that's a good lateral shift for your family.
Mm-hmm. So. And as we go through some of these principles and share with you about what things are better for you that you could start purchasing, just where should you start? As a family, maybe sit down and say, what are some of our top favorite dinners? What are some of our top favorite foods? Create that list as a family and say, okay, how can we move laterally? If we really enjoy eating ice cream, what's a type of ice cream that we can purchase that's healthier? If we all really enjoy pizza, maybe we can start making cauliflower crust. So make it easy for your family, make it enjoyable. And again, focus on lateral shifts. Don't make this harder than it is and ask your kids to completely change their diet. Again, ice cream to broccoli.
So, and the neat thing about this, by the end of this, the resource that we're going to give you and share with you, we have a ton of lateral shifts on there. Pretty much, if it's anything out there, anything that you bring to us at this point, we've done this for a lot of years, we can find a lateral shift for it. Mm-hmm. So if you have any questions on that, always contact us and we'll try to share with you any lateral shifts.
The other thing we want to talk about as we enter into this nutrition workshop is really talking about a positive relationship with food. And if we all think about our own childhoods, a lot of our views about food come from when we were very young, whether it was struggles with eating too much or just cravings that we might have had, or for a lot of us, food became this thing that we felt like we would reward ourselves with bad food. If you think about it, like, oh, I did a good job, I get a piece of candy, or I had a hard day at work, I need a glass of wine or an ice cream. Like, we've all been there. And especially for our kids, it's important that we start creating a positive relationship with food. And that starts with the words we use to talk about food. This is something we're very intentional about with at Ignite Academy when we're talking about food. We don't want them to walk around saying, oh, all these things are bad. We really want them to be excited about the food that they're eating. So a couple words that you want to transition into as a family is talking about words that bring a positive light to food. Here's some examples. One that a lot of people will say is, we're having a cheat meal. We cheated all weekend. We ate really, really terrible foods. In our house, a lot of times we say, instead, we're having a vacation meal. Instead of cheat foods, we say vacation meal. Once in a while, we take a vacation to get away from the ordinary. The same thing with our foods. We take a vacation and we might indulge in some different things once in a while in celebration or on the weekends or on a vacation, knowing that we're going to return back to that core nutrition plan when we're done. Another one is using the word God made, or the phrase God made. This is great for kids. It's an easy way to distinguish foods that are good for our body. When we're at school and we're introducing fennel or Brussels sprouts or all of these different things, we said they're good because God created them. When they come from the earth and they're unprocessed, those are good foods for our bodies. And that's easy for kids to see. So if you're at the grocery store and you're picking out a box of cookies, were these God made? Did they come from the ground? Not always. So let's focus on our God-made foods. Another one is when we're talking about fats. A lot of people have this negative connotation when we talk about fat. We're on these low-fat diets. But helping to talk about fat is actually that brain fuel. Our brains, I think, are actually made of 60% fat. It's an incredible number. But using positive terms around fat, because fat can be good for our bodies. Trying to think of some other ones that we use in the household. Sugar is the devil. No, we don't say that one at all. I think another one, when we talked about the healing foods, this is important too, because in our house, if we're finding any symptoms, if we're sick or have the sniffles or whatever it might be, our kids know, like, oh, it's time to really focus on those healing foods, that the nutrition, the things that I put in my mouth are going to help my body heal and function as it should.
Yeah, I mean, just like even fats or anything, any food, we don't say, hey, these are good or bad fats. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we use words like, hey, these are damaged or undamaged fats, mm-hmm. Or healing fats, and these are damaged fats, and just words like that. So,
yeah. So that's important to have an environment using positive words when you're talking about food. Now let's get into the nitty gritty. So we're going to talk through 3 primary principles. Again, this is not a diet plan, where if you get these 3 words, these 3 things, it's going to help you make some great choices as a family.
Yeah, and really simply, when it comes to nutrition, I think a lot of parents nowadays, we're really focused on the micronutrients. We want to make sure that, hey, I want to make sure that my kids are getting all the proper vitamins and the minerals. And I get a lot of questions. Hey, what should my kids be taking omega-3s? Should they be taking? And they give me like a list of vitamins. And I'm thinking to myself, like, that's good. It's good to have those micronutrients. But it's so much more important to get the macronutrients correct, because when you're getting the macronutrients correct, the micronutrients really tend to take care of themselves. So that's why the principles that we want to share with you today, it's about the macronutrients. And there's only 3 of them. And that's what we're going to share. And if you get those right, just like you said, then everything else falls into place. So number 1 is fix the fats. Well, there's right here, you can see on the screen, it says change the bad fats to good fats, or change the damaged fats to good, healthy, healing fats. And it's really simple. On the one side, you're going to see rancid bad fats or damaged fats. The way that you want to remember this is that if it's man-made or man-altered, then you want to stay away from it. These are your vegetable oils, your canola oil. Yes, canola. I know that's in a lot of healthy food out there, but it's still a man-made, man-altered oil. Actually, canola, stands for Canadian, non-oleic, low-acid oil. It is literally genetically made in a lab. Corn oil. Corn oil might sound healthy, like, hey, it comes from corn, but in reality, it is extracted chemically. They had to change it a ton to actually get it into an oil. Margarine is one molecule away from a plastic. So margarine used to be like this great thing that everybody said, hey, take margarine all the time. It's going to heal all this cardiovascular issues. Now we know it actually causes more issues than not. And then any kind of synthetic butters there. So what are the healthy ones? What are the ones that we should be putting into our nutrition, especially our kids' nutrition? Yes. By the way, fun fact here, good, healthy, undamaged fats. That's the number 1 missing macronutrient in most of Americans' diets. Yeah.
And I mean, if you're looking at that good fat list and you're thinking about your child's lunchbox or what they're eating on a daily basis, are they consuming olive oil? And we're talking about olive oil in its raw form. If you actually heat olive oil, it becomes rancid. So again, that raw olive oil, an avocado. Are they having coconut oil when you're cooking their foods? Are they eating raw nuts and seeds, raw butter, raw cheese, raw yogurt? So really looking for those healthy whole fats. It's, again, something that we can start adding to their lunches.
Yeah. So when we are going to start tackling nutrition for our kids, we start with fix the fats, because this is the first thing we want to tackle. A lot of times as parents, and this is kind of where we made a little bit of a mistake. As parents, we think, hey, the biggest thing that we have to tackle is sugar. We got to take sugar out. I would say that is the worst thing you can do, because sugar, if you're giving your kids a lot of sugar, and it just happens, right? Society, it just happens.
It's in everything.
Yeah. Then that becomes their primary fuel source. And if you take that away, you're going to cause a lot of stress on their little bodies. So the first thing you want to do is, you don't want to, by the way, when I mean switch fuel sources, anytime I say switch fuel sources, we only have 2 sources. Really, it's either sugars and carbs or fats. So if you're going to take sugar out, what are they going to eat with, or what are they going to fuel their bodies with if they don't have any fats in there, which is the number 1 missing macronutrient? So what you want to do is forget about the sugars, is you want to add a ton of good healthy fats. We want their bodies to start getting used to these good healthy fats, and this to become their primary fuel source. Yeah. This is the first step. If you do nothing else, we want you to do, if you're starting this journey, is don't worry about anything else. Just start adding good healthy fats to their nutrition.
And parents, be tricky with this if you need to. I was talking to another parent on the playground the other day, and we were just talking about how we hide things. Or she said, throwing some of that avocado into a smoothie where they don't even taste it, or drizzling that olive oil in some of the foods that you're making for dinner. Some of these things they won't even realize that you're adding to their diets, but it's going to have huge effects for these kids. Okay, next up, perfect the protein. We've talked about fats. Now, what do we do about our protein sources?
Yeah, so protein sources, it's pretty simple. If you're going to have a protein, especially a protein that comes from an animal, those animals should be raised the way that God intended them to be raised, right? A cow should eat what? Should eat grass. They shouldn't be eating corn, grain, and candy, and full of hormones and being put on antibiotics and all these synthetic things. Because what happens is when they take all that in and they're exposed to all these things, guess what? You're taking all of that in. So, and specifically for your kids, you know, we have kids nowadays, we see that younger and younger, they're having hormone issues and they're having all these different concerns. A lot of times it's because they're getting pumped or put all these on all these hormones indirectly. The hormones are coming from their foods. So when it comes to perfecting the protein, we want to make sure that we're having animals protein has to come from, if it's a cow, it has to be grass-fed. If it's a fish, you don't want it to be commercial or farm-raised. We want that fish to come from wild-caught sources. If it's poultry, we want it to be as natural as possible. So that's cage-free would be the words you want to look for there. So that's when it comes to proteins, that's what we want to focus on there.
Awesome. So next up we have shake the sugar. We talked about fats, we need some quality proteins, and now let's start to make that shift with the sugars.
Yeah, let me say one more thing about the proteins too. So think about the process here. We're giving them the fuel source, fat. Proteins are the building blocks, so we're putting good building blocks in there. So we want to rebuild their bodies, rebuild their hormones and their receptor sites for those hormones with good, healthy proteins. And now that their bodies are more receptive, now we can say, okay, now let's start to shake the sugar. Now let's deal with the big S, right? And this is the process we want to go through. We don't want to start with sugar. We don't need to focus on the proteins. Focus on the fats, the proteins, and then now we're going to sugar.
Right. And so this doesn't all have to happen on January 1st. Plan out with your family. We're going to spend 2 weeks adding those, avocados and oil. Then we're going to do another 2 weeks where we're doing the protein, really focus on that. So this shake the sugar part. How do we get rid of the sugar that is everywhere nowadays for kids?
Yeah, well, we start with lateral shifts. But before that, you got to realize that sugar is the #1 cause of disease out there. Sugar increases acidity in the body. It increases inflammation. As soon as you eat sugar, it immediately decreases your immune system because you have a response to that sugar. So, in our house, one of the things we said earlier was healing foods. Our kids know and understand that sugar is not a healing food. If our kids are having any kind of symptoms, if they're expressing any kind of symptoms, immediately they know, hey, I need to stay away from certain things that are going to contain sugar. And so that's one of the things that we do.
And it's so easy as a teacher to say, oh my goodness, the effects of sugar happen immediately and over time for the body. So even just eliminating this one thing, what a difference it makes even in the classroom and your child's ability to learn and focus. It's huge. So
the way we're going to eliminate sugar is, one, we have to know what those sugar sources are. And those are anything ending in O's: glucose, sucrose, fructose, lactose. Those are all sugar sources. You can have sugar sources from original sources like maple syrup, maple sugar, sugarcane, cane juice, still sugar. And then corn or corn derived, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, cornmeal, corn oil, all those things can have derivatives that are really sugar, or even worse because they're man-made. Here is some alternatives.
So this is that lateral shift that you're talking about.
Yes, this is a lateral shift. Instead of having sugar in some of their products, they can have things like stevia. They can have things like xylitol. Nowadays, you can find a lot of things with monk fruit in there. These are lateral shifts that are still sweet to your kids or for us, but at the same time, they're not going to have as big of impact, if any impact, on their blood sugar levels, on their insulin, on their neurology, all of that stuff there. So these are the lateral shifts that we look for.
Now, this is a big one because my daughter has become a big fan of reading labels. And so the 8-year-old scanning through to see if she sees any of the word sugar in the ingredients. And then she'll say, Mommy, this certain thing has 2 grams of sugar, but I don't see the word sugar on the label. And we talk about, well, God made things sweet for a reason. Strawberries do have some sugar in there. But reading labels is so important for kids that they're not focusing on that part of the nutrition label, but diving into the actual reading the label. So here we have an example of what's in the label.
Yeah, I forgot to say this with the sugar. When we say shake the sugar, we're not trying to get kids off of sugar to say that, hey, they have to be low carb. That we don't want to get that impression. What we want to do is when you're reading the labels, we want to make sure that there's not a ton of different sugars in the label, or at least processed sugars. So to your point, when our daughter's reading the labels, this product might have sugar,
right,
but it's naturally occurring sugars. For example, if they put if they put dates in there, dates are sugary. Dates some of the bars, healthy bars that we have dates in them, and that gives it its sweetness, but it's not adding processed sugar. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Sure.
We're not saying, hey, kids need to go low carb. We're saying, hey, when you're shaking the sugar, we're shaking the processed sugars out of there. So sorry.
Speaking of processed sugar, if you take a look at this label and just scan through the ingredients, in your mind, take a quick guess of what this could be. Where would you find this label nowadays? And unfortunately, it's in most school cafeterias. What is it? We have our Lunchables. Yes, packed full of different ingredients that you would probably never feed your child in isolation, but yet they're in some of these processed foods.
Yeah.
This one, you would go on the shelf and say, oh, Nutri-Grain bar, perfect. That's something on the healthier end. You see all these labels nowadays where it has an award on there. You'll see things that might say organic. You'll see things that might say gluten-free. But again, it's really important to zoom into the label to see what is actually in these things. And here we zoom in on the ingredients for those Nutri-Grain bars.
Yeah, so what we're teaching our daughter, you mentioned she's looking at labels. If we go back there for a second, there's the top half of the label, which has calories and how many sugar grams and carbs and all these different things in there. We're telling her, hey, don't focus on that. Even if it says sugar on the top, it doesn't matter. What really matters is what's in the ingredients. So and that's what we're telling you as a parent. Hey, teach yourself, teach your kids not to worry about the top. If you get the ingredients right, everything else takes care of itself. So when you're reading through here, you immediately can see, just in the filling itself, it has high fructose corn syrup. It has corn syrup, a different type of sugar. It has, look, it says high fructose corn syrup again, fructose, sugar, maltodextrin. Like it's just sugar, 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 sugar. We think, hey, this is decently healthy. No, it's full of sugars. So you just have to read the ingredients and be aware of that. They're trying to they can push sugar in there in a lot of different forms and variations.
Sure. So let's take these three principles. We've talked about making sure that we're adding quality, undamaged fats to your child's diet. We're also talking about quality proteins is a must. Then we try to eliminate those fake sugar and fake sweetness from our diet. So how does this work for your child? Because again, as parents, we sort of know what we need to eat. How do we help this be aligned within our family? So what's for lunch? Some quick lunchbox lessons. And what's so fantastic about working at Ignite Academy is getting to walk around and see what's in kids' lunchboxes. There's some great ideas there. Our parents are doing a fantastic job. But when you look at your child's lunchbox, thinking about that sugar, fat, protein, how do we add some of those healthy things? On the screen there, you'll see some suggestions, such as adding almond and coconut flours. They have some great crackers and things out there that have almond flour and coconut flour in there. Making sure if they do have some meat or protein in their lunchbox that comes from quality places. So look for that label of grass-fed when you're getting the jerky or whatever it might be for the meat source. Raw and whole milk dairy. So often when you look and scan that yogurt aisle, everything is low fat, high in sugar when it comes to yogurt. Actually look for that whole milk and if possible, getting some sources of raw dairy. They do actually carry some raw cheeses even at Publix. So it is something that is more available nowadays. Finally, great to have in your kids' lunchboxes, almond butter, raw nuts, again, providing that great protein for your child. Presentation is everything when it comes to kids' food. I mean, think about why are they wanting Lunchables? That was like my favorite thing growing up because it looked so cool. Like you got to put the little things together. That's so neat. So I'm going to give you a website coming up for these amazing lunch boxes. You've seen them out there. They're like bento style. This particular one on your screen is made of stainless steel. It has little compartments that helps kids see the colors, see the variety, get to pick and choose and put things together. They are fantastic for portion size and just helping your kids even pack their own lunch boxes. Giving those little areas like this is your fruit area and this is your protein area. Help them start to take ownership of their lunch boxes. That variety and having a lot of different foods, it's really easy for my kids to sit there and say, Mom, everything in my lunchbox is white and yellow today. Like we need to add some reds and some blues in there. So presentation is really important for kids.
Yeah, and just a quick little thing here. Like think about what we're trying to do with our kids. All of us as parents, we're trying to create kids that independently they can make the best choices they can make. So this is a great way to do that. I love when our kids sit there and look at it and say, okay, I have my protein, I have my good healthy fat. Now I can put my healthier carb in there. So.
Yeah. And again, another lateral shift. Take a Lunchable from Publix. Take a look what's inside of it. It's usually like a cheese, a cracker, and some kind of meat and a treat maybe. And make that lateral shift and buy your own almond flour crackers, your own raw cheeses, and just make it comparable, but with better ingredients. Yeah. And what we said before is hidden goodness. If you take a look at Pinterest and look up avocados or whatever it might be, there's some great recipes out there for how to get these things into your child's diet in a way that they're not even knowing that they're there. Avocado can be hidden in almost everything, including this delicious chocolate mousse. Smoothies are a great way to get all of these macronutrients into your child's diet. Drizzling some olive oil over their veggies, putting probiotics in their yogurts is huge. Adding veggies in pasta sauce. I don't think I ever make pasta sauce now without, grounding up some carrots or whatever it might be, adding some spinach. And then again, cauliflower is a great one. They have cauliflower rice, pizza crust, mashed cauliflower. It's a great thing to add to your child's diet. Any other ones? Oh, I'm trying to think. Oh, black beans. We're studying this at Cook's Corner this week. So one of the things that we're doing for our kids is we're making black bean brownies on Friday. Your kids will not even know that they're in there, but again, great protein that we can hide as parents. Some of my favorites, I get asked this all the time. What are we doing with our family? What are some of my favorite things to encourage this kind of whole family nutrition? Actually, my first one. My husband's book. He wrote the 14-day reboot. I'm sure you want to talk through this as well, but it's a great one for some of those details. If you're ready to take the next step and want to hold something in your hand as you go to Publix that has recipes and ingredients, this is a great one.
Yeah, so there's a couple things in the book. Today we gave you a lot of different, the 3 big major ideas. The book goes into a lot more details on that, and the back half of the book, it has a day-by-day plan. If parents say, hey, I just want to do this, I want to do it for myself. So it has a day-by-day plan in there. It has some resources that go through. It gives you a chart. These are your better proteins. These are your best proteins. This is like the stuff I wouldn't touch, right? It goes on and on. All the lateral shifts will be in the book. And I wanted to offer it free for anybody. So
thanks.
Yeah,
how did they get it?
If you go to the 14dayreboot.com, you can just pay for the shipping and we'll ship the book out for free. I think it's like $6 for shipping. So
cool, that's great. Also on here, you'll see Thrive Market. If you're on to the, I want to order all my food online and get it shipped to my house, make that switch over to Thrive Market. They have some great things at really good prices where you get the organic, you get the quality proteins, you get the healthy fats and oils in there. So check out Thrive Market. It's a great one. On the far right, you'll see my favorite kind of lunchbox is called the Planet Box. It's a stainless steel bento box. All of my kids have had one for at least, I don't want to say
3 or 4 years,
even more, 5 years, 6 years that these things last. They're fantastic. They're non-toxic and great for helping your kids pack their own lunch boxes. Butcher Box is one where you can order quality meats online that are delivered to your door. Sunbasket is another one of those like cooking recipes that uses the quality proteins. And then just check out things online like Momables is a great blog, Instagram, Pinterest. They have great recipes out there. I think one of our greatest resources really is either at your office. The patients, they're amazing there. And even at the school, we have some parents that really know their stuff that have been walking this journey that have great suggestions. So, always say, hey, I'm really struggling with this piece. Can you help me out? Hey, let's go to Costco together and shop and see what we can find that meets some of these principles. So use each other, use our community because it's a pretty awesome one. Last but not least, if you guys have any questions, please reach out to either of us. We'd love to join alongside of you and answer those questions. If you'll notice after the video today on YouTube, you will see a link. If you're an Ignite parent, please check out that link. Also, we would love to send you some information on ending the food fight. We mentioned that free PDF. It is available on the igniteacademy.education blog page. That's a free resource that Raul is offering if you'd like to actually have some paper in your hands that goes through some of the things that we talked today. So you can always shoot us your email and we will send that to you, or check out the igniteacademy.education blog page.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us today, guys.
See ya.
We appreciate all of you. See you later.